Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Inside Coop. I'm Coop Jackson somewhere. Like I said on yesterday's episode, today I'm going to talk about successful books that have been turned into movies. And then while doing that, I'm going to be making chicken cordon bleu. So without further ado, to save some time, I already seasoned the chicken, same way as you season chicken parm, except I cut the chicken breast in half. And I kind of made a sandwich with it, with having chicken breast, Parmesan cheese, ham, Parmesan cheese, chicken. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our chicken sandwich, and like yesterday, we need to coat it in flour, the whole thing in flour, because we want to have a nice crispy chicken cordon bleu. Yeah, even get the sides of it, but make sure you're holding it together since you don't want it to fall apart. So, let's start about my favorite, adaptation from a book would be the Lord of the Rings trilogy. To start, I think it made the movie franchise was very successful for a number of reasons. One of them, I think, it's what Peter Jackson did. Not only did he pick a cast and say, hey, we're going to film 3 movies all at once, it's just going to be a continuous thing, and then I'm going to cut it up. I think that one was a brilliant choice. That way, everybody in the franchise is locked into the project. There's no outside distractions, and you create more of a family from it. And they did. The Lord of the Rings family is a family. Another thing I think he did beautifully was film it in New Zealand. It gave it more of that mythical type of realm with the rivers, the forest, the snowy mountains. I mean, the whole movie, you're just lost in this world, and it's hard to believe that world is on planet Earth. So, huge fan of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I never read the books. I'm not a big reader. I'm highly dyslexic, so I really can't read. So there's that. But huge fan. Two Towers is probably my favorite, just because the Battle of Helm's Deep is so badass. But if you don't know, there is actually an extended edition of the Lord of the Rings that you should download and/or buy. It gives more details that are left out. For instance, it goes more into Aragorn and being a ranger, and you figure out that he's actually 80 years old or something like that. You find out that him and his mother is like being hunted down, and that Lord Elrond actually took him in to watch him because he knew how special he was. He knew that he was a Isildur there. But anyway, that's neither here there. So Lord of the Rings is definitely my favorite. And then, of course, you have the Harry Potter fans. Harry Potter's so successful, there's a Harry Potter world at Universal or Disney. It's all the same thing. But what I liked about the Harry Potter movies is that it continually got darker. Granted, I know the books got darker, Harry gets older, so they experience or are able to understand more shit. But, with a children's novel like that, you don't always get that. So I appreciate that the movies got progressively darker. But in order to do that, they need to be smart. So actually, I think after the 3rd movie or so, they actually brought in a different director who, I think it was David Yates, if I'm not mistaken, to direct these movies to give it more of that darker appeal. Also, the different Dumbledore, the second Dumbledore they got, I think did an excellent job. He didn't give that old crippled Dumbledore feel, even though Dumbledore was 100 something. The new Dumbledore gave more of a life, more like, all right, this guy can do something. All right, he's agile. He can fuck shit up. So Harry Potter movies definitely very good. A lot of people are split on the decision of them splitting the last movie into 2 different movies, or the last book into 2 different movies. I, for one, appreciated that, not being a reader of the book, so I don't necessarily have all the information that all the readers do. So splitting that movie up was able to give me more information that I wouldn't have gotten because I'm not reading the goddamn book. So Harry Potter, I'm going to put it as probably the second best book to film franchise. And if we're in that type of world with J.K. Rowling and J.R. Tolkien, we got to talk about Chronicles of Narnia and that book series with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Magician's Nephew, which is actually the first book. I thought Disney tried. They tried with the real adaptation. I think with the first movie they did really well, all because they have Liam Neeson as Aslan with that majestic voice as a lion. How could you get anybody else? But they tried. I would say the first movie is enjoyable. Other than that, you don't need to watch the other ones. And so if we're talking about just these famous authors and books that have been turned into movies, how can we leave out Stephen King? Stephen King, one of the greatest authors of our time, still living today, has produced so many fear-driven stories that, I mean, I know a lot of my friends are afraid of clowns because of the movie It. But that's just one of them. You have Stand By Me, you have Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile, Pet Sematary, you have It. I mean, the man's a genius. Secret Window. So many of his books have been made into movies. So he's probably the top author producing from his stories to movies. But other movies that not a lot of people forget come from books. Top one being The Godfather. Mario Puzo, I believe, was the author. It was his story that Frank Capra decided to, like, you know what, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to get some badass Italians in Hollywood. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. Getting Marlon Brando to be The Godfather, unbelievable. So that book to movie, obviously, hugely successful. And then a lot of people forget about Wizard of Oz. Yeah, one of the first movies to be shown into color. I mean, you actually have the moment from black and white to color right as Dorothy wakes up and in Oz, in the Little Munchkin Land, when she opens her door and sees all the color. That's the first time color's been shown. But also, highly successful book that was turned into a movie. And then you just got to think about really powerful characters throughout the past 100 years, and one of them being Ian Fleming's character of James Bond, 007. I mean, how many? We have, what, 20 different Bond movies now? 5 to 6 different guys playing Bond. I personally, my top 3 are Pierce Brosnan, Sean Connery, and Daniel Craig. In no particular order. I think they all bring their own element to the movie. But yeah, James Bond is one of the many movies that has come from a character, a book character. And of course, recently we can't forget about The Hunger Games. Oh, that's looking good. Hunger Games, widely successful book that was turned into a movie franchise. I mean, it pretty much gave, oh my god, what's her name? Jennifer, oh my god, whatever, Jennifer Lawrence. God, it gave Jennifer Lawrence her huge start being Katniss Everdeen. So Hunger Games. And then we can't forget about like the old time movies, like Princess Bride, for instance. It starts as a grandfather reading a book called The Princess Bride to his sick grandson, and then we're transformed into this fairyland. But I think that's one of the better movies from book to movies, because it from the start it's saying this is a story that I'm reading to you. This is a book. So I think that's very clever. Of course, Princess Bride is a great movie date to to any guys who needs a movie idea to watch with a girl, if you haven't seen Princess Bride, I would put The Princess Bride on. Then Jurassic Park, hugely successful book that was made into the movie, along with Jaws. I mean, Steven Spielberg, he knows how to make a movie, he knows how to spot a good story, and then tell that story. But then we can't just always think about just books, literature, novels. There's also comic books and graphic novels. Marvel definitely has a huge imprint on the movies recently, but Stan Lee, lyrical genius with all his characters and stories. DC as well. I mean, Batman's been around for over 100 years. But then you can't forget about the graphic novels like Watchmen. Watchmen, excellent movie. They just recently made kind of like a sequel to the movie show on HBO that came out, which is excellent. But the graphic novels is intense, which is why they made like the movies R-rated, because these graphic novels are supposed to be more intense than the regular comics. Sin City, another example. V for Vendetta. Just all examples of graphic novels that have been turned into movies that have been, I think, wildly successful. Men in Black, a lot of people don't know, was like a graphic novel or comic before it was made into the movies, which can be seen as understandable. But one that a lot of people forget about is Blade. And I feel like it's interesting that they're coming out with a remake of Blade with Mahershala Ali playing as the Blade character. I mean, you can't get 50-plus old Wesley Snipes to play Blade anymore. Oh, that is looking beautiful. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how it's turning out. Alright, so it's going to be the same color as it is when it comes out of the oven later. Look at that golden brownness. Look at that. Nicely layered, beautiful coloring. So I'll probably pop it in the oven for about 10 minutes or so, and then it'll be good. Well, that's all I have for today's episode. Just really wanted to talk about what I think are the most successful novels or graphic novels / comics into movies. I'm not going to get into all the Marvel and DC movies because they all just recently came out, so we all should know the successful Marvel movies or successful DC movies. But I will say my favorite Batman is Christian Bale. Favorite Joker is Heath Ledger, though Joaquin did a nice job, and they all, you can't forget about Jack Nicholson, who did a phenomenal job as well. They're all different interpretations, which you gotta appreciate. But I think they need to stop making Batmans for a while. Ben Affleck, you tried, I get it. Every American wants to be Batman. You were given the shot, and it just didn't work out. Don't know about, what's his fucking name? Robert Pattinson playing Batman. I think he will make a great Bruce Wayne. Batman, I don't know. Yes, they're the same person, but are they? Are they? Tim Arnett's Lego Batman. Phenomenal Batman. The Lego Batman movie is actually a really good film with Zach Galifianakis portraying an excellent Joker. But that's pretty well all I have for today. Tomorrow's episode, I'm going to be critiquing the new movie that came out today, 1917. I'm actually going to see it tonight. So tomorrow's episode is going to be a little review of the film. I'm not going to give too much away, just to tell a little bit about the story and my thoughts. And then we'll probably talk about similar movies like Hacksaw Ridge. Can't use Saving Private Ryan. It's not really a real story. We Were Soldiers. Probably some other war movies like that. So stay tuned. And thanks for joining in. Once again, I'm Coop, Jackson somewhere, and this is the Inside Coop. All right, have a good night.